Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm making too much noise, moving too many things around. Let me stop that. Welcome into the room. Let me just give a few people the opportunity to jump right in. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya Baker. Hello. Wait, let me just cut out that feedback. Stop that. Welcome into the room. Let me just give a few. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya Bankston. I'm Coach T. Bankston. It is a pleasure to jump in today and just talk with you for a few minutes. I wanted to share with you some confidence building tips. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Tanya Bankston and I am the change doula. Why am I the change doula? Well, for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I became my own client. I changed my life. I changed my own life. So let me go back a little bit, just a little bit. In 1994, I started working for the court system. And at that time, I had to Google this. I was making less than $15,000 in 1994. So today that would be roughly $26,437 by today's dollars, right? Less than $15,000 providing for 4 people, myself, my children, and at that time, I was providing for my husband at that time as well. So prior to becoming gainfully employed at that job, making that money, I was working 2, 3, and sometimes 4 part-time jobs. Can you believe that? 4 part-time jobs, one person. My, at the time, 6-year-old, maybe he might have been 7, 6 or 7, I don't know. But my son says to me, he was like, Mom, instead of working 3 or 4 part-time jobs, why don't you just work one good paying full-time job? That was a no-brainer. You would think that if a 6 or 7-year-old could figure it out, then surely I could figure it out, right? But what it did was it started the change process for me. I began to actually think about that. I'm like, it's my actions that got me where I am today. And because of those actions, not finishing school or having children before I was ready, it was just a whole myriad of different life experiences that placed me in the situation that I was in. So I decided, you know what? It is time for a change. I have to do something different. So that was the starting point for me to go back to school. And from the year 2000 to 2005, literally, I worked 2 jobs, one full-time job, one part-time job, and I went to school. And I started this change process. And when I tell you, it was not easy. It was difficult at best. And oftentimes I found myself just being exhausted, being a single mom, working full-time, working part-time, and going to school. But I knew that if I wanted something different, if I wanted a different lifestyle, it was my responsibility to get me there. So that was the birthing process for becoming a change doula. So if you notice, my title says 5 top tips for improving self-confidence. So what I want to do is I want to share with you 5 things that I did to help me along that process. And I also want to share with you my book. I'll do that in just a minute. So tip number one that I needed to take advantage of was to start to dress confidently. I needed to start to dress for the person that I was seeking to become, that professional, that person that's going to be seen and viewed as someone that looks and feels confident, right? So at that time, I didn't have a lot of money. And just little things like wearing a suit and changing up my scarf or changing my accessories. That was something that I had to become very proficient in order to dress the part, to begin to feel good about myself, and to begin to project this image of this person that's confident. And let's be quite frank, when you look good, you feel good, right? And people buy into what they see long before they get to know you and know about the quality or character of the person that they are dealing with. So it's really all about making sure that you dress confident. Tip number two. Tip number two is something that I just love doing, and that is being grateful. And I actually wrote my tips down so that I can make sure I share all of the juiciness with it and I don't forget anything. It's actually 10 self-confidence tips that I have and that I use. So tip number two is something that I do all the time, and that is remembering to be grateful. Remembering to be grateful and expressing gratitude is something that's not only a state of mind, but it radiates a peacefulness and confidence. So, what I do on a regular basis, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, it just depends. I create a list of those things that I'm grateful for, be it life, be it health, be it family, be it opportunities. There's just so many avenues and so many things to be grateful for all the time. Food, heat. I mean, when I take a shower, I'm like, Lord, thank you. Thank you for clean running water. I mean, it's so many things that we take for granted. But if we just start to begin to be more grateful, more opportunities to become grateful will avail themselves, right? Tip number three. This is one of my favorite tips. And the reason why it's my favorite tip is because it really speaks to the essence of the person that I am. So I love to read. I'm always reading, and I want to give credit to the person that I read about this tip in their book. This is not my tip, it's something that I borrowed from somebody, and right now that person escapes me. So I don't want to pretend as though this is my tip. This is something that I learned and I started doing, and I noticed it makes a huge difference in how people show up. That is practicing complimenting other people. So I read about the 3 feet rule. If you come within 3 feet, which we're talking pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, because we know with the 6 feet distancing that this changed the game for everybody. But before that, if you came within 3 feet of me, I was going to find a genuine reason to compliment you. Not necessarily something that's superficial, like, oh, I like your hair, or oh, I like your makeup, or that's a nice suit or nice dress, but something that's really more genuine, more specific to that particular person. And I noticed once I adopted that habit and I started doing that, that people changed their perception of me. And it began to help me to focus more on the other person. It put me in a position where now I had to really start to pay attention to that person, their behavior, their demeanor, their persona, to find something to compliment them on that's really genuine. So once we get back to our normal, whatever that looks like for us in the future, past COVID, I would recommend that you just begin to look for a reason to provide some genuine compliments to other people. It makes all the difference in the world. It really does. People like to talk about themselves, but more importantly, people like to be acknowledged for their good qualities and the things that are good about them. So definitely take the time to compliment somebody. Another thing that's very important, this is tip number 4. Tip number 4 already. Begin to give back. That is something that I'm really, really, really big into. So many people on this process for change. As the change doula, my responsibility is to help women give birth to their dreams, their goals, and their vision for their future while remaining transparent and authentic. So many times as women, we get lost in serving other people and nurturing other people that we either lose sight of our focus or we don't really genuinely know what our purpose is. So, as women, I would say, I'm going to venture out there and say that we give back naturally. We give back naturally. It's a part of who we are. But sometimes we forget to give back and set boundaries. That's a big, big deal for women. I know for me, myself, I've been guilty of giving to the point of depletion. And there's nothing to give to myself. So I put everybody else on that list. And then I fall low on the list. And by the time it's time for me to give back to myself, I'm too tired. There's no more time. I'm just depleted. So I had to change that. I had to start to put myself first on that list. I had to begin to give to me first, because the truth of the matter is that you're able to serve others and to give back to others when you're serving and giving from your overflow, not from that space of deletion. The last thing that I want to share today, in terms of 10, well, no, I'm just doing 5 today. 5 self-confidence building tips is to don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to say what's important to you. Don't be afraid to don't get so caught up in feeling as though you're going to sound silly or what you say doesn't matter. Sure, it matters. It matters. It matters. But you have to believe that first. And prior to coming into that acceptance, that's how I felt. I felt like, well, you know, why should I say something? It's not going to make a difference, or people are not going to respect and value how I see things or how I feel about it. But you have to get to that point where you understand that what you bring to the table is just as important as what anybody else brings to the table, if not more important. But you have to get to that space. So those are a few tips that I wanted to share with you today. The reason why that's so important is because those are the things that help me get from making less than $15,000 in 1994 to getting to that space. So let me just go back a little bit. In 94, from 94 to 2000, I worked in that same space before I got promoted. And I went from making like 15,000 to, I believe, roughly about $30,000. So that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. But because I went back to school and I got an education, I noticed that things started to open up for me. More opportunities began to become more available. And in 2011, I jumped from, I believe I was making roughly about 32,000 to $70,000 in less than a year. That was like a big, big jump. Now, mind you, I'm still working, and I finally, for the first time since 1994, so we're talking about 1994 to 2011, I worked 2 jobs. That's a long time, working 2 jobs. I finally went to that space where I can work just one job, and lived comfortably. But it required a lot of change. It required me to step outside of myself. It required me to make some hard decisions, not to socialize as much, to go back to school, to study, to set myself apart. I wrote this book, and I have it right here with me. I'm gonna show it to you. It's called Grab the Carrot and Run. So Grab the Carrot and Run is about that proverbial carrot that we all have, you know, the thing that dangles above our heads, where we always say, well, you know, I'll be happy when I get a better job, or I'll be happy when I get married, or I'll be happy when I get a divorce, or I'll be happy when I get that Mercedes Benz, or, you know, it's that thing or things, depending on the person, that we feel like will make us happy. When really, truthfully, the things that make us happy are those intangible things that have no price tag on it, like good health, peace of mind. Peace of mind is priceless, right? So grab the carrot and run. This is Grab the Carrot and Run. And the back of it, it says, you are highly qualified to pursue your passion and your purpose. There's no one more qualified than you. That carrot of change can be pursued and caught. It's difficult trying to figure out your next when you cannot plan your now. Transform your future right now. So this is something that I live by. I just believe, and it's a transformational journal. And it actually has quotes in it, and it has activities in it, journal prompts that I use to help me to get from where I was to where I am now. And I still use to help me get to where I'm going, because I haven't made it there yet. I'm working on it. So then after I was done with Grab the Carrot and Run, I went into a recording studio and I created Grab the Carrot and Run, the transformational audio. And I wanted to make it so that it takes this right here a whole step forward. So the audio contains all of the activities and the prompts that the book does, but the audio has some added special features in it that I like to think of a life coach in an audio box. So I just wanted to share those two things with you. And finally, I want to talk about the art of reinvention. So the art of reinvention is my brand. That is my baby, because I know reinvention is not easy. Okay. Reinvention, as a matter of fact, can be difficult. Reinvention can be scary. Reinvention is a lot of work. I know I have done it. I put myself out there time and time again. I've done the work. I've done the work. And I just want to encourage somebody. I want to encourage somebody to continue to move forward, to continue to reach higher and grab that carrot and run with it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Success is always closer than it seems. And even when it seems as though you have made all the right moves and you're moving closer and things still don't seem like they're working, don't quit. Continue. You will get there. So that's all I wanted to share today. I'm Tanya Bankston. I'm the Change Doula. You can find me on all social media platforms as Coach T. Bankston, Tanya Bankston. And until next time, I want to remind you to aim high, take flight. That means you got to put some movement into those dreams. Faith without works is dead. You got to do some work. Take flight. Come soar with me. Be blessed.